And I moved to San Francisco, which made it much easier to get good drugs. And I started to explore, by working, by building systems, what virtual reality was. And this started to have a profound change on my own understanding of how reality was constructed, because my psychedelic description of reality, which is that mind forms reality, began to conflate or become identical with my physical or scientific description of reality, which is that mind forms reality. Description of reality, which is that mind forms reality. My physical or scientific description of reality, which is that mind forms reality. Which is that mind forms reality. Which is that mind forms reality. And all of a sudden I understood that everything I used to understand about the way the universe works wasn't as true as I had thought. And so this began to inspire in me a search to get to some basic level of being, some basic level of being, some basic level of being that would allow me to work in a world that was manifest because of my own will. That was manifest because of my own will. That was manifest because of my own will. And just as much as manifest because of your own will. Because where we're going, the simulated and the real are going to get really blurry. Because where we're going, the simulated and the real are going to get really blurry. Because where we're going, the simulated and the real are going to get really blurry. And we don't have any tools. We don't have any tools of mind. Western culture, which is based on this idea of this objective external reality, it's not hard. It's all become very soft, and it's all flowing together. It's all flowing together. It's all flowing together. And it's all flowing together. So we need to now start to find ways of describing what's going on. Ways of describing what's going on. And so what we need to do, I found in my own investigations, is to take a look at cultures that describe the world magically, that understand that perception shapes what you are, and you shape what you see. Take a look at cultures that describe the world magically, that understand that perception shapes what you are, and you shape what you see. That perception shapes what you are, and you shape what you see. And you shape what you see. And you shape what you see. What you see. And that they're not separate areas, they're not separate domains, but you have to consider them as a whole. So the four sort of prongs that got talked about in the blurb that was written for this piece are technopaganism. And technopaganism is maybe, you could describe it a bunch of different ways, and I certainly didn't make the word up, and I certainly didn't apply the word to myself, but it stuck because Wired magazine published an article 2 years ago with my face blazoned on it, Photoshop reversed in color, and said, this is a technopagan. And really what it was trying to do was trying to articulate My own experience of being thrust into this world where everything was melting and nothing was solid, and trying to come to grips with it philosophically, trying to come to grips with it ontologically. And my own explorations had led me to understand that, in fact, in a world where anything you want is true, the only way you can deal with this is by learning how to deal with your will. And dealing with your will is what magic has always, in all cultures, always been about. This is why the shaman doesn't go insane when the world just disappears. He's ready for it. They're ready because they understand that where they are isn't bound up in their view of the world. The internet is a connective layer, and you were talking about this last night. It's beautiful. If you took a picture of this room in 1990 and you took a picture of it today, everything would look exactly the same, and yet everything is completely different. Because in 1990 we didn't have this layer of bits that's flowing seamlessly among all of us. And it's changed us. It's radically sped up the way we deal with information in society. And every bit of information that passes through you changes you. You cannot be unaffected in any way by any bit of information. So the internet is acting as this enormous accelerator. It's acting as something that's passing through all of us and radically transforming us. And part of what it's doing is ripping us apart. And that's dangerous. If we don't approach that carefully, and if we don't approach that with a lot of heart, we're going to find ourselves and what we think of as ourselves ripped away in that process. One of the reasons why I think it's very important that this is happening at Esalen is because if Esalen were running a political campaign, their slogan would be, "It's the body, stupid." Because it begins here and it ends here. And if we can stay in our bodies, even while we're projected into cyberspace, we have some zone for sanity. We have some zone for being. And psychedelics can produce these boundary dissolutions where you flow into another thing. What we're going to see, and it's actually quite true, that certain types of VR can produce precisely the same affect. There are zones where virtual reality can be very dangerous for that reason, or incredibly powerful and meaningful for that reason. So where I would like to work from this weekend is I really want to work from the heart. I personally think, in my own philosophy, that to work in technology, you have to work from the heart center, because otherwise you'll create golems, you'll create Frankensteins, your creations will run away from you. And that's the essence of the story of the golem, is that this is a creature that was created with the breath of life, but without the light of knowledge or the heart of God. So we really have to work from that layer of bits that's flowing seamlessly among all of us. And it's changed us. It's radically sped up the way we deal with information in society. And every bit of information that passes through you changes you. You cannot be unaffected in any way by any bit of information. So the internet is acting as this enormous accelerator. It's acting as something that's passing through all of us and radically transforming us. And part of what it's doing is ripping us apart. And that's dangerous.